Shalom, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have yet another timely message, which has to do with how to know your calling and the difference between being called versus chosen. Because it says, many are called, but few are chosen. So, just a little insight, not going to get too deep, but those who have understanding will understand it, and an ear to hear will hear. We are talking about when it comes to your calling, how to know. I'm going to do a little testimony on my life. For the longest time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. A long time. I had no clue what I wanted to do. In our family, we'd have relatives would always ask, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I just thought, hey, whatever the coolest thing to pop into my head, I'll just run with it. One minute I wanted to be a lawyer, then I wanted to be a police officer, then I wanted to do teaching, then I went back to wanting to be a lawyer and then an attorney, and then after that, I just like, I don't know. I don't know what my passion is. I could look at other people and tell how naturally gifted they are, what their gifts were, because I could see them manifest it. So I just couldn't see what I wanted in myself. I just didn't know what it was. Because there are people who they can do almost anything, jack of all trades. They could do almost everything that they put their mind to. But unfortunately, the Most High just didn't wire me that way. If I'm not passionate about something, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it well. It's going to be one of those weak, half, and I'm not going to fail it all the way because I'm still, putting out my best. But it's not something that I truly want to do. Then I don't wake up with a zest or a zeal to do it. I'm just going through the motions, dragging my feet. Oh no, not again. Eventually, it came a time when I had to go to college and I had to choose what was my major, what do I want to major in, basically leading me down the communication field and into journalism. And I hated that too. Hated it. Hated. How many of y'all don't know nothing happens by accident? No accidents are really made. Everything that happens to you in your life leads you up to your purpose. Everything. Got into journalism, didn't like it, wasn't passionate about it. I was dragging. And everything about it, though, had something to do with a part of, like, the world would always tell me, you were good at writing, continue writing. That's what you do. My mom said since I was a kid, I wrote stories and poems and all kinds of things. I would just be so into like literature, and that was my natural artistic self. However, eventually, finding your passion and your calling has a lot to do with what naturally comes to you. A lot to do with it's written in your DNA. A lot of us, we miss it because sometimes we get so distracted and so confused, you don't really know. There are things that you are so passionate about that it doesn't even seem like work. You just love it. It's like even just to go in the morning puts a pep in your step. I mean, look at people who love evil. They're passionate about their evil too. Just to wake up the next morning and do something wicked to somebody, they're driven by their evil passion. And Yah's people need to get driven by their passion, but many of us sometimes we have been hoodwinked. The blinds have been put over our eyes. So we get lost and we get entangled by this world. But just like we said, those who have been put over us are a test. And there have been counterfeits that are created to throw us off of purpose, stop us from being the salt and the light of the world by giving us a false light, giving us these false, what do you call it, talents or false skills, and then entangling us more by adding even money into it. Now, what I mean to say is through the Spirit and His gifts, like He enhances also what is naturally in us. For example, we have people who are natural healers. Even just being in their presence is healing. Their voice, even just the essence that comes from them is something so magnificent and calming. They're natural healers. They don't need no sedatives, no additives, no pills, no syringes, none of that mumbo jumbo. But then in contrast to that, the enemy creates what they call their doctors and their medications and their idea of the healers, and entangle it with some other things, making it hard for those now who are so dependent by making you codependent on these things. That's what happens. Now you think that those are what, and many times even natural healers, they go into being nurses and doctors because they feel and they know that that's what is in them to be healing. Unfortunately, they take the artificial route, but many times it shows who they already naturally were. You have teachers. You have teachers that are supposed to be in the faith, natural teachers. They teach you the truth, and the truth shall set you free, right? Then the enemy has their counterfeit teachers. They teach you their doctrines and whatever it is in order to enslave you to their beast system. They teach you whatever it is to keep you codependent so you can't break out. So one teaches freedom and one teaches you bondage, or how to live complacently in your bondage. You have people who are natural preachers. They don't have to go, they don't have a specific day that they're preaching. They're preaching every day. They got something to say. They got a word for you. They be sitting next to somebody. Brother, sister, you need some encouragement. I can see you need some encouragement. I have a word to say to you today. And I'm just going to let you know that salvation is yours anywhere they go. They're not asking for a dime per se. If you feel like to donate because the Most High moves you to and see a need, then so be it. They know they don't have to ask because they know who their provider is. Because the Most High says, He speaks about even the birds and the when He talks about His plants, they don't He provides for them. So why is it that He wouldn't provide for you, who He loves so much? So a lot of them take it to another level. Some of them, unless that money is putting gas in their jets, they are not going to move. But then these preachers that automatically, you just be preaching to somebody, you see somebody needs encouragement, you don't even care. You just start talking to them, and you start preaching, and then you start bringing a word, and you start to connect them to the Most High, and right there, you might have just won a soul. You're not waiting until you get on a platform and you got money together to build a church and then you start preaching. You already started preaching. Probably even from a kid you were preaching. It comes natural to you. It's in your DNA. The Holy Spirit just enhances it in you. So what is already in you, sanctified under His grace, comes out even more it's like more on a different level, like times 10, like it's given that extra magnification through the spirit. So you got those preachers, they walking around, they're like, I don't care, you ain't got to put no money in I'm just going to bring you the truth because I know you need a word and I see you're despondent and you're down. I might be busy, but never too busy to spread the word of the Most High Yah, because we are into the business of winning souls. That's our business. By any means, you know, we don't have a designated day or a designated time. This is our job all day, every day. They understand that. Not They understand who's their provider, and they're not going to try to move away from that truth just because of their money. And a lot of those people who are like, man, I'm not gonna make it to this service because it's the money that they're giving or proposing to give to me is just not enough for the cost to get there. So they don't care because they're already shown who they are, and it's many times it's a blessing in disguise because clearly their God, they would have been misrepresenting. Their God is not the God of the healing and the truth, the God who is sovereign to this world, or his sovereignty reigns over this world, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Their God is Mammon. So that was a blessing. So we said that the Spirit comes to show the difference between the tares and the weeds, separate the goats or the rams and the sheep, cuts through to show who is really who. So looking in your calling, many times is something that comes natural to you. Even in, say, intercessory, or people who are in deliverance ministry, they're in the business of praying you out of some things. Naturally, they pray and the heavens open up and rain down blessings upon you. And deliverance, right? All they do is speak to that spirit. Some of them, even when you see like how Yahushua did, sometimes you don't really have to say nothing and these things manifested. They knew who he was. It's natural to these people who are in deliverance ministry to come up against evil. They're bold in their calling. Come up against the evil in order to free people from that oppression. That is their calling. Intercessory. People go and stand in the gap on behalf of the oppressed and downtrodden and the hopeless. You understand? When people say, man, it ain't worth it, they still have that blessed assurance. They carry that hope inside of them. That's in their natural DNA. Intercessors, they are those advocates, mediators between you and Yah. Naturally, counterfeit world, what do we have? We have lawyers, we have attorneys, things like that. Also, when it comes to deliverance ministries, it's another part of, like, even when it comes to security, police officers. They come up against the evilness that is oppressing people and arrest those spirits by the word of Yah, the spirit of truth. They arrest those spirits from off of people so they can have freedom. They provide that justice, that justification on behalf of you. And could go maybe even vice versa with intercessors and deliverers or deliverance ministry. So knowing your calling. So those people who, they have an inkling as to what they want. But if you have chosen to do ministry and to understand what your calling is, but it's to answer it, because there's a lot of people who are called to do a lot of things, but they decided, like we talk about the people who have the light, and they have decided that I'm just gonna keep living in the world. I'm gonna hide this light under the bushel, and I'm gonna choose the counterfeit. I mean, You can even still answer your calling while operating in that specific duty, but it's just get you an understanding. If you're passionate, you love what you're doing, ain't nobody else understand it, they don't feel like, oh, I wouldn't do that, because they don't understand the passion and the calling that you have had to do what you were supposed to do. Okay, that is what was given to you. So you have the calling on your life, especially for ministry. But a lot of people choose to not answer the call. They choose to go waywardly. Choose to, instead of trying to minister or win souls for the kingdom of Yah, they decide to go into the world and continue to lose souls for Yah by joining in with the enemy and win souls for the other side. Wayward. Wishy-washy, flippy floppy, I always say that. People who are undecided, lukewarm, is that what the scripture calls them? Lukewarm. Yeah, I would prefer you be hot or cold. At least he knows where you stand. So when people want to know, I don't know what I'm into, you might already be doing what you naturally called to. For instance, as a child, anytime I got a bad dream and, I would just like feel something was off, automatically I would go into intercessory prayer and start praying on behalf of other people. Just automatically. Like a fear of losing these people would drive me to automatically go into prayer to protect those people. And by that, I would say, don't do it to them, let it happen to me. That and just saying that, not to brag about, but just to give an example. Many of you are already doing what you're passionate about. You already know, but you just don't really know. Because that confusion has been brought. The test. Who is bringing these counterfeits? Your test. Are you going to step up to the plate? Which one are you going to choose? The one that you think you benefit more from because it's that of the world and right now it just looks gravy and greener? Or the one that is more permanent in winning souls? You snatch somebody out of the jaws of hell. You save somebody from damnation, eternal damnation. There's no coming back from eternity. It's just a long, long time. And there is no hope, like absolutely no hope. I'm not even going to lie to you. There's a difference when we're living right now because there is still blessed hope. There's blessed assurance. Anything can happen. There are exceptions to any. If a heathen or somebody wants to wake up, because let's talk about Israel. Israel, why were they really just chosen besides the faithfulness of their bloodline from Abraham and going down? The Most High honored them above all because they exhibited the faith, because He loves faith. He loves faith, loves righteousness, because the faith is showing that you believe that He can do what He promised to you. When even you're going into fasting, that's that faith you release. And through that, He is able to release you from whatever oppression it is that you are fasting about. Through Him sending His Son, He was able to free you from sin and death. And it takes His true love. He gave you abounding grace, abounding mercy. He just pours it out for whoever it is that wants to reach out. And unfortunately, some people didn't want to reach out. And how the heathens ended up in the way that they ended up, and Israel was left to be holy, they were supposed to be the examples to the heathens. So did the Most High really give up on the heathens then? No. He had chose Israel to be that example to the other nations. Because when he's talking about these other nations, right? You know, they were doing abominable things. They were falling back into their old ways constantly. Some of them just never even bothered to even try to get up and change. Israel was set apart to be the example to bring them back, and whoever could be saved. But Yahushua coming through the tribe of Judah, that one man able to do everything that that whole tribe was supposed to do. Perfect example. Israel, through a group, kept on sinning. One man came, took away all that condemnation from the previous sins of a group of people. These people were supposed to be the saving grace to the rest of the world, to the other heathens and the other nations. All those people thought, you know, the Most High just gave up on them right away. No, he didn't. They were continuously practicing their sins. They didn't know better. Because remember, heathens back then, they were still in their rightful place. They didn't completely wash out, they didn't wash out their humanity. They were still complete in his image, right? You had the Hamites, the Shemites, you had Japheth, all of those. They were still there and they were in his image. So he still provided a way for them to come out. But they didn't want to do better. They didn't. So that's why it's the choices that you make which determines your outcome. And they kept making those wicked choices. And what did scripture say? It says, because they refused to retain the knowledge of Yah, he left them to a reprobate mind, right? He let them. You know, reprobate mind, they love their wickedness. They love their maliciousness. They just love the sin of the world. And they refuse to do better. So no, he didn't give up on them. So when I was talking about the favoritism and all of that, even then, even though he favored Israel, he still didn't let go of the other nations. Eventually, their behavior and their wickedness and their continuous lecherousness into falling deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into their sinful ways and taking on the just complete abominable things by choosing those fallen angels and those other gods. It's just like, when you know, enough is enough. And that was the same thing he was trying to keep Israel from, as set apart people, so they wouldn't go in those same ways, because they had to stay. They were supposed to be the standard, right? The uprightness for them to live, being the judges, being put over those people, because it was all being done so they could come back. Even when Yahushua came, I think I mentioned this with regards to the Canaanite woman, and you know, she was begging him to release her daughter from demonic possession. The devil had possessed her, and that's how she felt. And he was like, man, I came for the lost tribe of Israel. And he told her that, you know, he was telling her that he couldn't do it because he didn't want to give what was meant for them to those other people. And because of her faith, he saved her daughter. He delivered her. What does that mean? That when a person decides to be an exception and impress the Most High with what he loves, with faith and righteousness, like the righteous Edomite Job, he is honest and he honors their actions because it impresses him. That faith moves him to work. Look at, from that example, you see how faith, when you fast and pray, because you're doing it and you have to do it in truth, because he knows your heart. He's looking at your heart. Do they really, really, really honor me in this fast? Or are they just doing it because, you know, they saw other people do it and they saw what came of it, and because maybe they're doing it out of jealousy or they want to prove a point, like, oh, You can do it. Well, I can do it too. You can do 40. I can do 50. You know, if they're doing it for competition and for the wrong reasons, and you look and you don't see the manifestations of the things that you asked for in that fasting, is because you weren't doing it, probably weren't doing it with the right intentions. Your heart wasn't pure when you went into this fast. Because remember, his eyes were like fire. He can see into the depths of your soul. He can see what it is that you truly meant to do. What was your true intention? You can't lie to him. You can't lie to him. Even Yahushua, which was Yah manifested in flesh, and those Pharisees and Sadducees, they were trying it. They thought they could get one over. You know, they in their carnal minds didn't know who they were dealing with. They didn't know. So, brothers and sisters, understand when it comes to um being called and chosen, one takes faith, okay? Takes action. So you will be called, but chosen means you need to take up, have faith, and put action into the work, okay? So I'll talk to you later. Shalom.